Nothing's
happening.
There we are.
There we
are.
It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, Sacramento, California, and Detroit, Michigan. And yes, this is news that you can use that's entirely unplugged.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, for Friday, October 13th, for those of you who suffer from triskaidekaphobia, the fear of things the 13th, welcome to Friday the 13th.
It is Friday the 13th.
Yes. I know I promised everybody that Zach would be here today. As you can see, we have Justice, we have Phil, we have no Zach. Apparently, they have really poor internet in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Go figure. So this is the first ever simulcast of news that you can use and the electric channels unplugged all at the same time. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey. Thank you. Hey, I just got to say, though, so we're simulcast. Oh, why did that change?
I don't know.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, we're simulcasting with Unplugged, but none of our viewers got to see our lovely Unplugged intro.
Yeah, they didn't get to see.
So it's
I apologize.
I'm kind of okay with that.
There we go. Okay, here we go. We're on the right channel now.
Well, we're on some channel.
We're on all of them. We're on all of them. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So sorry about the description that says Caredge Electric Unplugged. I scrambled at the last second to make sure this could go out.
That was perfectly fine. And I can read in the headline that we have that Tesla's bombshell, price, wherever the hell it is, price undercut. Yeah, why Americans still resist the EV revolution. Why is that, do you suppose?
Yeah, so, I mean, first talking about transaction prices, right? So all vehicle transaction prices actually went down in September.
Yes.
Led by Tesla, of course, with as Tesla does, which really pisses off some Tesla owners. I'm not one of them. Doesn't piss me off. I like it, but some owners get a little bit pissed off when they lower prices $3,000, 2 days after you just bought your car.
Do they make it up to those people in any way, shape, or form?
So at one point they did, but I have not heard lately that they have. I don't know. Have you heard anything, Phil, on that?
No.
They don't send them like a refrigerator magnet that just says "sucker."
They are now, Ray. They're going to listen to this show and be like, "Hey, let's do that."
Sorry, Justice.
But here we have new vehicle transaction prices. So the new vehicle now is $47,899. That's still really freaking high.
Yep, but it's down 3.2%, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's down.
That's the right direction, right?
$360 from a year ago.
Wow.
Or 0.7%. It's dropping.
0.7%.
Yeah, okay. So it's dropping.
Yes.
3.4 was from the start of the year.
Gotcha.
So that's where you got that number from. Yeah, from the start of the year. But from 1 year ago when prices went up, now we're down $360 year over year. So at least we're headed the right direction, I guess.
Yeah, that'll buy you what, a Big Mac and fries and a Coke.
Not in California. We have a new minimum wage for fast food workers, so you won't get a Big Mac here for that.
Okay.
No.
Non-luxury vehicle prices increase less than 1% year over year.
Okay.
So it seems like the luxury prices are sort of the ones leading the way. But if you look at this lovely chart here,
yes,
there seems to be an outlier here amongst everybody else.
Would that be Tesla?
Yeah, that would be Tesla, who's down 24.7% year over year.
Wow. Yeah.
That's how much they've dropped their pricing?
Yeah, year over year.
Oh, then those poor folks deserve more than one kitchen refrigerator magnet. That's a significant price drop.
Yeah, it is. And, and that's sort of with the EV market right now. But at the same time, they're down 24.7% and their market shares, they've lost market share as well.
They lost 7% of their market share.
Yeah.
Now there's a reason.
Amount.
There's a reason for that, I do believe, at least one that they're postulating. They were waiting on the refresh of the Model 3 or whatever, or production wasn't quite what it was supposed to be in the third. What was their excuse? Well, they're waiting on that damn Cybertruck to come out, which
right, because that's it.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's just going to make everything better, right? Right, Justice. It's just,
I mean, they didn't say any of that, but yeah, that was. But I think now we're just setting up our own alternative set of facts on what they said. They had plants down for retooling, refreshing. Yes, the refresh Model 3 and partial refresh of the Model Y, getting things ready for the Cybertruck, but they had plants down and they knew that would contribute some to it. But I'm going to say, and I think what Ray, you were sort of hinting at, it's other models are picking up. Like Kia is picking up. People like the EV6. They all like the Ioniq 5 and 6. They, they like these. So there's other vehicles that are picking up in the space. And I will say this, the Model 3 and Y are actually up in sales
dramatically.
But the S and the X, which anyone who watches over on the electric channel knows, I have said less than 5 years those go away. They've actually lost sales. So they're still growing, but
that doesn't make that makes sense.
Yeah.
I can see why.
They're too expensive.
Can I share something with the two of you that I find amazing?
Please.
When they talk, when Automotive News talks about luxury sales, and the two major brands that are fighting the years-long battle to control luxury sales and be number one has always been BMW and Mercedes-Benz.
Correct.
Automotive News, for whatever reason, counts Teslas as luxury sales. And
why?
Exactly. And BMW is in second place behind Tesla for the year. Tesla's like doubled them in sales for the year. But Justice, I'm going to ask you this question. If you were to consider any Teslas a luxury vehicle, I think the only models that you might consider to be that would be the S and the X. Am I correct?
I mean, I do not consider Tesla a luxury brand, but you are correct. If you were to put them into luxury space, it would only be the S and the X. Certainly the 3 and Y, not even Tesla thinks they're luxury brand. I don't think Tesla thinks they're premium either. I think they think the S and the X are the premium brand, and the 3 and Y are the standard brand, the
mass market brand.
Yeah, the mass market brands, which is what they're going for. They have always said they want to compete with Toyota, not Mercedes and BMW. That's not what they're after. I mean, that was in the beginning because that's how they built their company.
Yeah.
But they want the Toyota Honda people. They and I really do think they're going to get rid of the S and the X probably shortly after the Cybertruck comes out. I would say, I said 5 years. I would revise that to 3. I think in 3 years you'll see a full discontinue of the S and the X, because I don't think that's a business they want to be in.
Well, it would seem to me that it's not the profitable end of their business.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
They had such a drop, they had to cut the price on the S and the X just to get people to buy them. At one point at the end of last year, they were having a problem just getting people to buy those, because we've talked about price is a big thing. And I think if you're going to pay $100,000 for a vehicle, probably the Model S and X aren't what you're going to go for. You probably want more luxury than those two vehicles have. I like them, but I think at $100,000, which it was up to at one point, they don't really make sense.
And
Agreed.
Phil, I mean, do you think of? I mean, I don't know how Automotive News comes to the conclusion that Tesla's a luxury brand. I mean, we've driven them.
Ray, I think it's price points. I think when, before they now, yes, they've come down in prices, but
Yeah.
The manufacturers will tend to say, okay, you're in luxury class if you're getting to a certain price point. And maybe that's how they're classifying, even though they're not necessarily luxury quality. I mean, look at other brands. I mean, like Cadillac. I mean, you guys know I'm a fan of Cadillac, but they're quote luxury. But then a lot of times and I've got some balloons going on.
Yeah.
But when you actually go into some of their vehicles, you're like, this feels more premium than actually luxury. But they're at that price point. They're at a higher luxury price point. So anyway, that's just my opinion, on what I think about that.
And if I could extrapolate from that, if we're going to say it's the price point that denotes whether or not it's luxury or premium, well, if that's the case, and they group all of the Teslas as being luxury, then what the hell is a Ford F-150 with an average transaction price of $66,000?
Well, but look, those big trucks, aren't they trying? They're almost trying to be luxury.
They are.
Right? They're not the pickup you get in and just go, do farm stuff in anymore. Now they have so much, they have leather and all these appointments and all this tech and all this stuff. They're almost trying to be luxury. I'm not saying they are luxury. I'm just saying they do seem to be trying to be.
Learning Fast has a really interesting question. Is Acura luxury? How about Infiniti? And I will tell you, from having worked at Acura for 12 years, represented that brand for 12 years, they don't think of themselves as a luxury brand. They have always positioned themselves as what they call near luxury, okay, which is obviously a step below luxury. Infiniti, they're not even pretending to be a luxury brand anymore. They came out and said last year, we ain't a luxury brand. We have no intentions of being a luxury brand. We have an intention of being a higher priced Nissan, but not really competing in the luxury space. So when I think luxury, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when I think, you think of BMW, you think of Lexus, you think of Mercedes-Benz, you think of brands like that, Rolls-Royce, Bentley, even to some degree in the old days, you would have thought like Jaguar, things like. But I there's a lot of pretenders.
But I think, Ray, to your point, though, that I don't know that these OEMs are the ones who are pretending. Like, Acura doesn't pretend. I don't think Tesla thinks of themselves as a luxury brand. I think it's outside influences that are calling them that. And Tesla's like, we're not a luxury brand. Acura is like, we're not luxury. What did Acura call them? The near luxury, right?
Near luxury, yes.
Yeah,
I mean, literally. I mean, I can't tell you how many brand meetings I went to, and that's exactly how they describe themselves. We're a near luxury brand. We're the bridge between Honda and getting to a luxury brand. One of the things I used to tell my Acura rep, I said, do you understand the difference when somebody buys an Acura and somebody buys like a Lexus or a Mercedes? When they bought that Lexus or their Mercedes, they feel like they've accomplished something in life by being able to afford to buy one of those vehicles. And when they buy an Acura, they feel like they bought a car. Okay, and that's a big difference.
You're right.
Yeah,
I think Acura is not a status symbol. and for lack of a better terms,
It's not.
and
So
BMW,
is that what defines
Mercedes,
luxury now? Is it
maybe.
is it the nameplate? Because so many vehicles nowadays, even in the higher premium trim vehicles, like if I went back 5 years, 5 to
Mhm.
10 years, something like that, and I'm looking at cars that are kind of in that premium, space now, it like on the par of luxury and how fit and finish is and all the finishings within inside the vehicle. I mean, they're on par to what luxury used to be. Like we're the bar keeps on getting raised and raised and raised. What is luxury anymore?
Luxury is, in my mind, okay, and just in my mind, luxury is the cachet associated with the brand.
Okay, so it's a brand.
Okay.
Can,
It's a brand
can,
thing.
Yes.
can I say I'm going to agree with this,
I would
and I'm
agree.
going to tie it into something that Phil's not going to appreciate, but will understand.
Yeah.
Cadillac.
Yeah. Hey,
Look, the Cadillac name was a luxury brand because of its name. Like we still use that as a generic luxury name, right?
Mhm.
you're right.
Yeah, like Obama with his with the medical stuff. You have your Cadillac medical plan.
Yes.
That was what he called it, and that name carried a cachet.
did.
Now, when you say luxury, if you start listing vehicles, how long until you would get to Cadillac in your mind when listing luxury vehicles? It probably wouldn't make the top 10, but they
I mean,
haven't really changed much. But the name
Oh.
doesn't mean what it once was.
I think Cadillac has drastically changed from what it used to be. I mean, when you
I
look at when you
I'll defer to
talk
you
about
on
the
that.
cachet and you talk about where that actually comes from, like these cars, like Cadillac was luxury. Like if you go back into the 80s, into the 90s, and like you look at those, what they had, like they were luxury. It's the old American luxury perception of like you've made it. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
that was what that was what it was. And you look at today, and Cadillac is just they put so much effort into wanting to become BMW that I think they lost their way. And while they have great vehicles, like their CT5 and CT4 is they're very good vehicles and they perform very, very well. And you could put them up against a 5 series and a 3 series, etc., right?
Mhm.
But that cachet, that what you're talking about, Justice, and that luxury poshness is it's just not there. It's not what Cadillac used to be. They're completely, in my opinion, kind of going in a different brand, and now they're going to be completely EV.
Yeah.
The difference is that they're not aspirational anymore.
Yeah,
And, BMW is still aspirational. Mercedes-Benz is still aspirational. Lexus is
Yeah.
aspirational.
yeah,
I've seen other names here, Aston Martin, Range Rover. Those are aspirational nameplates.
yeah.
And I don't and nothing against Cadillac, nothing against Acura or Infinity, but I don't think those are really aspirational nameplates anymore.
No, not
Um,
No.
anymore.
and maybe it's because at a certain point they became too readily available and they were marketed to anybody. And even though BMW's the industry leader in this country right now for luxury sales, I don't think they're as aspirational as they used to be.
Yeah.
They've become, even though they're overpriced, they figured out ways to become more affordable to a larger group of people who had an aspiration for a BMW and a luxury brand.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
to your point, Ray, we were just at the Detroit Car Show. Was there anything aspirational at that show?
No, but
mean,
everything was priced as
everything
though
was
it were.
priced, yeah, but there was nothing like when you come in there, when you used to go to the show, it used to be a show. It used to be, here's the new stuff that each OEM wanted to bring out. Here are the cool prototypes. Here's everything. We don't get that anymore. You know, look at even the German brands and all, you know, like Lamborghini and Ferrari and all those guys. They were tucked back in the corner, not
Yeah.
even really, you know, presented in any fashion or way. Now,
Yeah, I was
it's like,
surprised how many people were in that back corner. They had like, you know, was like 15 OEMs
yeah,
just
they
in
just
a
shoved
small little. I was like, oh, okay,
all the
yeah,
luxury high-end brands were shoved into the back corner. And then the rest was the whole floor seemed like to me, I just went into a huge dealership.
Yes.
And you know, to you know, talk about Cadillac too, you know, and aspirations. And as of right now, no. I am eager to see, even though I'm not 100% sold on the whole EV thing, but I am eager to see how they're going to take the EV platform that they're going to go 100% on. See how aspirational they can get with that. I'm curious to see how that's going to go.
well, I let me tie that into. There was a survey done, an opposite survey of what we had on last week's EV show. So if you
Okay.
go back to last week's, we had one survey. Now we have another survey saying the majority of Americans don't want to buy an EV.
Yeah, so
Um,
I knew that other one was that was questionable.
no,
Yeah,
no, yeah. Look, we all know I love EVs. I drive an EV. I would love to see them adopted, but the survey that said 54% of Americans want to buy EV as their next vehicle,
yeah.
I went, no, they don't. No, they don't.
May I share a story with you
Yes.
from a phone conversation I had with a gentleman this morning who has a EQS 450 Mercedes Benz. He's had it for 18 months. It's got 20,000 miles on it. Took it in for service. And during the service, they discovered that the air conditioner compressor had all kinds of corrosion around it. And the high energy input or whatever the hell it is, it had corrosion around that too. So they called the insurance company, and the insurance company is totaling the vehicle because at some point they feel this corrosion was due to salt water or something. Now, he's never been in a flood. He doesn't recall driving through flooded areas. And could it merely be a design flaw that when you drive in the areas, when he's in New Jersey, for example, and it rains and the salt that was used during the winter kicks up on the under the engine or under the since it doesn't have an engine, but you know, and actually causes this decay to occur. Could this be like a major design flaw? I mean, here's a guy who's got a car 20,000 miles on and got to be totaled for like water damage. It's basically what it is.
And that
They'd like to
doesn't,
say it was saltwater damage, but you know, he didn't drive through any saltwater ponds.
but that doesn't even fully make, there's something in there. Yeah, I don't know what that is about, right? Because, you know, Tesla is touted, and this is true for a lot of the EVs. Like,
Yes.
you know, they're so sealed that you can really drive them through. I wouldn't do salt water, as
Yeah.
we all know, but you can drive them through flood waters. You can, you know, for all those of us old enough to remember Oregon Trail, you can chalk it and go across the river on that thing, right? You can, like, but I don't. So it's really weird that that happened. I would love to know what, you know, if there's a final result to that, what it was, because saltwater kicking up from the road should have nothing to do. Like
You
the
would
undercarriage of that thing is sealed. There's nothing there.
you would think, and it just, you know, unless this is the only unless I could come up with, unless when they bought it, it had been
Yeah.
in salt water prior to them buying it, and nobody disclosed that, and there was no issues at the time. But over the last 18 months, that saltwater intrusion has created issues for the vehicle, and the
Which we
insurance company,
know is a thing. which we
Yes,
know
and the
is a thing.
insurance company said,
Mhm.
you can't
Yeah.
continue to drive this. This would not be safe. And I tried to explain to them. I said, the combination of salt water and these type of batteries, they don't really play well together.
Yeah.
And the fires that they create burn at a much hotter rate than normal fires, and they're virtually impossible for your local fire department to put out.
I mean, and they can put it out, but then it can restart because
Yeah.
other batteries are, down the chain. But it is not. It was Susanna asked here. I can't find the comment, but she asked, the ocean spray. No, they're not so weak that being by the ocean is going to be. You have to actually have it sit in, like it has to be a flooded car
Yeah.
in salt water for it to really start degrading the seals that much, because
Mhm.
that's what this is. That's what happens is the seals get degraded from the salt water, which is why it's not as big of a deal if it's fresh water.
Hmm.
Um,
Well,
so
I can tell
yeah,
you that's one EV owner that will never have another EV.
Right.
yeah,
And
yeah. I would.
and the amount of loss that he's going to take, because the insurance company is going to pay a market value.
Mhm.
And what's the market value on an 18-month-old 450 US? Uh, it's
Did he
dropped
get gap
dramatically.
insurance?
Well, it's unfortunately going to be an ugly situation for this gentleman, but it would scare the hell out of me. It really
Yeah.
would. He said, well, maybe I should just keep it and try and litigate with Mercedes. I said, better not to keep it.
Mhm.
and not necessarily put your life at risk when you're driving it, and suddenly, because of
Sure.
whatever saltwater intrusion there was, it decides to go up in flames. It's not worth it. And besides, Mercedes can outlast you when it comes to legal proceedings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have all the time and money. They don't.
Yes,
They'll drag it out.
absolutely. I'm sorry to have brought up that tale of woe.
No, like that is something that we've talked about on the EV show, and that's when you're looking at, and even recurrent auto. I don't
Hmm.
know if you know the Carfax of EVs, as they like to say.
Yes.
They do these surveys and things, and where your used EV was driven
Hmm.
uh, makes a difference.
Mhm.
And certainly if you're have one of these EVs that was down in Florida, or anywhere affected by the hurricanes that may have been sitting in floodwater,
Hmm.
like you gotta, I mean, you have to do that with every vehicle, obviously, but
Yes.
especially important in an EV where you have these fire risks. I mean,
Mhm.
again, an EV's the least likely to catch fire. However, when it does, good luck.
Yes.
Right.
And so
Right.
you want to sort of mitigate that. And and then they, Recurrent just put out this article on it, and temperatures. Tesla's particular do much better in cold weather
Hmm.
than other EVs, but really bad in hot weather, like any prolonged, like we were seeing in Arizona this
Yes.
last summer.
Mm.
Get into a garage, get it into shade, get it, because the long-term impact on your battery can be very large, and it's a permanent degradation. So when you're looking at those used EVs, looking at where they come from
Mhm.
is a
It
big
It's
deal.
important. Yeah.
it
And
it it it's one thing if you're a used car buyer and you're looking at a used ICE vehicle and you say, "Gee, I'd like one from the Southwest," because the likelihood of there being any rust or any issues like that is greatly reduced. But if it comes to an EV, you got to say to yourself, "I don't think I'd want one that has spent the bulk of its life in the Phoenix metro area."
yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, especially with the damage that they're finding out that they heat, Recurrent monitors your vehicle. So if you've signed up with
Mhm.
them, they monitor it the whole time. So only Tesla has better data than they do on these vehicles. And, when they're putting them all out there now, they don't have all EVs. Not everyone signs up for them. They don't have a connection to everything. But they have significant connection to Tesla. And, and they're just showing those hot climates. Like they're just flat out telling you, like, maybe you don't want to buy one in that area. Like go to something that's been in the cold area. But I think all that leads to, the survey we're talking about where most Americans don't want the EV. And I think this sort of shows, what is it? Those with a high school diploma or less are even less likely to want an EV. Millennials, only 40% want them. Gen X, 33%. Baby boomers, only 22%. So the older you get, the less likely you are to
Who
want
the hell
to
wants
buy
them
one.
then?
So it looks like 40% of millennials.
Wow.
33% of Gen Xers. I think the Gen X one seems off to me, but and maybe that's my area. Maybe it's just Northern California, because most people I meet when I'm up charging and I, talk to EV owners, because that's what I do. I walk up to random people and talk to them about their EVs if they're not a Tesla. And just like the large bulk of them are Gen Xers. They're all around my age, and they're all in that category. So maybe in Northern California, Gen Xers are more prone to it. I don't know what that is.
I think most Californians are more prone to it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's still going to be a breakdown, because I definitely the boomer and older generation are the ones that I see the most resistant on it, which makes sense to me.
But you would almost think that with EV pricing coming down, especially in the Model Y and the Model 3, that where they are now priced significantly below what the average transaction prices are for new cars today, that would be a tipping point, that would be enough for people to say, well, I could either spend $48,000 and get a internal combustion engine vehicle, or I could spend $38,000 and get a Model 3. I mean, at that point, wouldn't you think that more people would go, okay, I'll go with the Model 3? I mean, shouldn't that be finally the tipping point? Because in the past it was, well, EVs are too expensive. They're way more expensive than a comparable gas-powered vehicle. And now they're way less expensive.
And starting January, and I think that's what's going to hurt this last quarter, is next quarter, the $7,500 tax credit being an upfront rebate.
Yes.
So now if you're talking about a $38,000 Tesla, now you're talking about a $31,000 Tesla.
Yes.
Then that's
gonna be impactful.
Yeah, I think that's going to be
change.
But I think
allow people,
it's going to affect this quarter, where I think you'll see less EV sales.
Yeah, people aren't going to buy. They're going to wait.
Yeah, those in the know, why would you buy now? Why,
right.
And wait for a tax credit? You can, maybe a Kias and Hyundais will still go, those who are giving that credit up front, or of course, those who want to use the lease loophole, which is a great loophole that we do every day.
It is.
But otherwise, just wait till January when you can get that off the purchase. Makes more sense.
Do you think that Tesla will, say, in November and December, lower the selling prices of both their popular models by $7,500, and explain to the public that come January 1st, the prices of these vehicles will be going up $7,500, so that they can have a decent fourth quarter?
I don't know. That's certainly possible. I think Learning Fast put it in here. Tesla is also warning people that some of these tax incentives are going to be cut in half come January. And that, I think, is a Cybertruck offshoot. Cybertruck's going to be using all the 4680 cells. So they're going to be using all that North American mined or sourced material. So come January, they're going to be relying more on batteries produced outside the United States. So you're only getting half the credit. So we'll see how far that goes on it. I think there'll still be some Model 3 that will qualify. Or they may just push them all to the Model Y and the Cybertruck. We'll see.
Interesting stuff. Who's their big competitor? Is it going to be Kia and Hyundai?
It's going to be Kia, right? It's
Has to be right now.
Like, because what we're talking about, what we started the program with, they're not a luxury brand. They don't even think of themselves as luxury brand. They're a mass market brand. So when you got to look at this and you look at this Kia, new Kias are going to start at 35,000, on their EVs. You got mid $30,000 EVs coming out from Kia. They're already popular, right? Their ICE vehicles are popular. Their EVs are popular for EVs. Which we know that some sales have dropped, and you can actually find sitting inventory. But on the EV6 in particular, probably one of the best buys you can get out there right now. But they're coming up with more and more vehicles, EVs, that are going to be in that price range. And I think since that's where Tesla wants to operate, I think that's who becomes their number one competitor. Not all these other people, not Ford, who can't seem to figure out how to build EVs.
Yeah. Well, at least cheaply.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like, how many of them are losing money? And that's not to say that Kia is not necessarily losing some. I don't know how profitable their vehicles are, but I know they're doing better than the domestic brands.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. I know that they make some interesting looking EVs.
That's definitely one that doesn't look like everything else, right?
Yes.
And either you like it or you don't.
Yeah, there's no in between. And it's kind of like the Cybertruck in the sense that either you like it or you don't. There's no in between. But if people are looking to make a statement and not have to spend a lot of money to make that statement, I mean, I just think these Kias and Hyundais are pretty interesting looking vehicles. Maybe it's just me.
I agree. I think they look different, but they're not as polarizing as the Cybertruck.
Yeah, well, that's
which is very polarizing, and it was always meant to be. Like, it was never not meant to be that. They knew that. So, and I think these are something different, because I hear from you, Ray, all the time. All EVs look the same. They all look the same. They all look the same. I mean, I would say all vehicles kind of look the same. That's always the thing on them. But certainly EVs, maybe even more so because of design, right? Because you want that aerodynamic flow, and there is a perfect shape for that, and that perfect shape is a teardrop, and so that's what you get. You get every car that's shaped like a teardrop, because they all want that range. I think as batteries improve and range gets better with lesser batteries, you might see more sway from that, because it's not going to be as important to get that last mile out of it.
Yeah. Well, as I've said in the past, in order to really get more people into buying an EV, their designs need to get a bit more aggressive. Not in these, I get the whole, wanting to make sure we extend the amount of range, get the maximum amount out of it, but just as you said, as the battery technology gets better, that's going to become less of a concern. And I'm hopeful that then the manufacturers will start to actually put some design effort into making these cars look great, and look stylish and different, and not looking like the mainstream bubble that it needs to look like to get that aerodynamic going in. So
look, some of my favorite cars are, well, obviously the Mustang, everyone knows, 65 fastback, but Also, I love, 57 Bel Airs, 59 Caddies. And, these cars had great design, but what do they get? Like 8 miles to the gallon?
Yeah,
Like
right.
when did cars all start looking exactly the same and coming apart? When in the 70s we're like, hey, we kind of need to do something about this fuel efficiency
Yeah.
thing. And then they all started sort of slowly looking exactly the same all over. And that's what EVs are going through right now to meet these efficiency goals.
I know.
They all just look, and I agree with you. I think, and what they come out with, like, what is it, the Celestique, Phil?
Yeah.
That looks different, but I think it looks horrible.
I mean,
But it looks
yeah.
different.
If they would just, I'm not a fan of Cadillac's direction with this like whole bubble thing happening in the back. We'll see how that actually starts to evolve. But outside of the back of it, I mean, it's not a bad looking car. It's not a $300,000 car at all.
No,
But
but it's handmade, Phil. Whatever that might
oh
mean.
yes, yes,
I don't know what
yes.
that means.
So let's hand build it and we'll say, oh, it's in Rolls-Royce and Bentley territory. Let's just do that.
Is that what they mean? Is it because you say hand built on a car to me, and I think, can you have a machine do it? Because yeah,
Well, they can have a machine do it.
Yeah,
But if they want the prestige of having to put this,
I don't think I want a
statement out,
handmade one.
It's a statement, right? Cadillac's trying to make a statement with this car.
Yeah, they're trying to get their name back, and good luck to them. Like I get that, I understand that, but I think Kia is the player to watch here. And not to sound like a broken record, but I'm going to sound like a broken record because I don't ever want to go off record. Toyota, do not count Toyota out. They're saying solid state by 2034. Now they've been saying that since the mid 90s. So, take it with a grain of salt. But I do believe they're probably farther along than they've ever been. And solid state is the industry changer, right? So, if they can achieve that, I think Toyota is probably going to be the one to watch in the end here. Just my guess, my crystal ball.
Well, they've been around for a while. They have. I'll use a term my son likes. They've iterated a number of times. Probably not nearly as much as Caredge, but they've iterated.
Right.
No, not as much or not as fast as Caredge.
Right.
We iterate like that.
Yeah.
But their experience, I think, allows them to take their time, so that my guess is that when they finally really jump in, they will have it dialed in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's why they're taking their time.
I mean, and this is from the company that basically perfected the hybrid, right?
Not basically. Yeah. They have made the hybrid mainstream. They're the ones that did. There might have been others that had hybrid cars, but nobody has gotten the public to buy into the hybrid quite like Toyota has.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's partially why I lean to them. I think they're one of the most nimble companies out there. As you say, they iterate, but they take their time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, but when they come out and they do it, then they're, as you said, they weren't the first hybrid company by any stretch of the imagination. Lots of people before them. But when they came out, man, they did it so well that they convinced everyone that that's what they wanted.
Yes. Yeah. So it's almost like what was that Apple product, the MP3 or whatever, the iPod?
The iPod.
Yeah.
The iPod.
Yeah. There was something that was invented that the world didn't know it needed, but Apple convinced us we did.
Now we need to connect our phones to our cars thanks to Apple too. Like, if you don't have CarPlay, then forget it. You're not going to go look at another car. Wow. And I got, Bluetooth still works, guys.
It does. And my car has Apple CarPlay, which is perfect for when Zach drives it.
Yeah.
I don't have Apple CarPlay, but that's besides the point. Well, we've crushed like 45 minutes here.
We have.
Mhm.
No, that's in fairness. That's 2 shows worth of content.
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
No, I get it. Yeah.
But it's 40,
but it is
almost
45
45
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah.
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 And
We do
Good
have
job, guys. Good job.
we do have one. You got to be kidding me. That Zach wanted me to cover.
okay, so
yeah.
then I suppose I need to say,
You got to do it,
really?
Ray.
Really? You got to be kidding me.
There's not much to the story. There's
Yeah.
a headline that I have
Oh.
absolutely no opinion on whatsoever.
I've got the opinion.
Yep. I'm just going to let you read this headline out, Ray, and whatever you think about it.
So I saw this in automotive news today, and I just read this headline and I thought to myself, A, why would you write that? And B, who said, yeah, okay, let's use that. And the headline is how OEMs can help customers achieve lubrication excellence. And my mind just wanders in the wrong direction, of course. But it just, when did that become the OEM's concern? I mean, let me figure it out on my. I don't need you to help guide me towards my lubrication excellence.
Well, I will tell you, Ray. I know when they did it, when they raised MSRPs and started.
Yes. Yeah,
with their customers, bending their customers over. I think
Yeah.
that's when they started concerning themselves with lubrication excellence.
Well,
Yeah.
I think at that
Probably.
point they might just throw a tube of something in the glove box. I mean, it's not that difficult. But I saw that headline and I sent Zach a picture of another headline. The greatest newspaper headline ever written was "Headless Body Found in Topless Bar." Which was a legitimate headline in the New York Post in the 80s when somebody got murdered in a topless bar and they decapitated the murdered. But it's just, when you see headlines like that OEMs want to help me find my lubrication excellence. How
can you not bring it up and just mention it, right? How can you not?
How can you not want to buy into that?
Right.
Yeah.
let me just say though,
Yes.
I will challenge you on the best headline ever written.
Okay.
Mine has nothing to do with OEMs, of course, just like yours. The favorite one that I ever saw was many years ago when Ike Turner died. Everyone remember who Ike was?
Yeah.
And the headline, which Tina said she loved, was Ike Turner beats Tina to death.
Wow.
I thought was hilarious.
That is.
And I can't believe they ran with it, but they ran with it. They got the clicks, and of course, it's just that Ike had died.
Yeah.
And Tina was still alive.
Yes. So he did.
And it was hilarious, and that is still to this day my favorite headline that they ever wrote.
Well, I like that one as well as Headless Body and Topless Bar.
Bill, what's your favorite headline before we go? Since we're on the okay,
I knew you were going to call me.
Yeah,
Oh goodness. Well, this has certainly been fun today. Now, if I can share something with everybody, my son assures me that there will literally be a live stream tomorrow night with him at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Caredge channel. At this point, I'll believe it when I see him there. But I'm pretty sure the internet's still working in DC, but we'll find out for sure tomorrow when he gets back.
Yeah, I hope to see you guys there. Well, I won't be there actually, but I will listen to it later. I will be driving to Los Angeles tomorrow.
Well, you say hi to all your friends in LA for us when you get there.
I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
And do me a favor, enjoy a hot dog from Pink's for me.
First place I stop, right? First place I stop that's how I know I've made it to LA is I go and I get to Pink's even before I check into the hotel. That is my I am here relax moment. It's getting my hot dog over at Pink's and the Mexican bottle of Coke, and
You're
it's just
set.
the perfect way
Yep.
to start a trip.
There you go.
I love it. Well, thank you guys for filling in for Zach.
Sure.
And I don't know about you guys, but I had great fun today. And Justice, I think I'll see you around, I don't know, 3:45 or so, because, well, we just can't get enough of each other.
That's
And-
right.
And Phil, you have a great weekend, and I'm sure I know
Thank you,
for
Ray.
sure
You
I'll
too.
see you next Friday. And we'll be back with more news that you can use on Monday at 9 Pacific, noon Eastern, 6 a.m. in Honolulu, 8 a.m. in Anchorage, and, well, in midnight in Manila, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for being here. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye.